Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Late for the Party on Anchor FM. I am your host, Melodious. Man, wow, it's just like, it's weird because it's like, for the last couple of, not even for the last month, it's just like hearing a lot of stuff, like one thing after the next, and it's like, Roman Reigns got leukemia, and, and stuff like that. I'll talk about that another time, but, dude, it makes it sad even for finding out yesterday that Stan the Man Lee has passed away at the age of 95, man, which is crazy, because it's like, considering the fact that I know that he was 95 years old, man. So, he lived his life to the fullest. He lived everything that he wanted to do and accomplish. He was one of the people who created one of the things that I enjoy the most about, reading comic books, man. He created something and made it, he created nothing and turned it into something, and it's like, with just 3 characters. Captain America, Submariner, and the original Human Torch. And Marvel was the answer to DC's because they were pretty much on top of everything. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman were the ones leading the charge for that. And DC was against a lot of other comic book places, but, they pretty much got absorbed by DC, and alone, here comes Marvel. Marvel did, did the unspeakable. It made competition, and with all the top comic book, the top characters. Not only you got Captain America, you got the Fantastic Four, you got Spider-Man, you got the X-Men, you got the Incredible Hulk, you got Black Panther. He made some serious milestones in the comic book, and for mainly the comic book industry. That's saying a lot. In hindsight, Marvel was the first company to actually create their first black character ever. That's saying a lot. To be his own comic book, to be his own character, Black Panther, and that's saying a lot, dude. This guy, pretty much, I don't know where I'd be in my life if it wasn't for comic books, and mainly the comic books I was reading at that time was mostly Marvel comic books, because, those were most of my favorite. They had most of my favorite characters. I was always into characters like Thor, and as a kid, I was always involved with Greek mythology, and, with Thor being the god of thunder, Hercules being the prince of power, then you have other characters like Ulysses, Ajax, and Agamemnon, and everything else, and there's these characters that are in the comic books, which was awesome to me, because it was like, how do you do that? Hell, they even got Dracula and Werewolf by Night. That's saying a lot, man, and it just sucks, because it's like, for him to watch his whole entire thing that he created, and just brings it out, and he's had his fair share of bankruptcy and about to go bankrupt, and next thing you know, the X-Men's resurgence saved his company in the 90s, man. I remember that. They revamped the entire X-Men, and with Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, they made them stars. They made them superstars. Like, anybody with the title mutant in the 90s, you were like, the Ninja Turtles and the X-Men were the shit around this time. And Marvel had a lot to do with that. And I must say, dude, like where would they be? Like, where would all this be? Like, if you would have told me that I would be watching and Thanos fighting the Avengers, and there'll be a movie where Thanos does the snap, or like Spider-Man using his webs and swinging, or Black Panther in Wakanda, the Incredible Hulk going off, Iron Man like putting on this suit for the very first time. If you would have told me that, yeah, if I could go back in time and tell my past self, like, yeah, there's gonna be movies of this, I would have laughed in my face, other than the movies that we would have gotten with Superman and Batman. And, you know, it took a minute for a Marvel movie to come out, you know? I mean, we had cartoons and we had TV shows, but those were low budget, and there was, back in the day, like the Bill Bixby Incredible Hulks, or the Spider-Man TV show, and quite a few other ones for that matter. But, I mean, just to see it now. I mean, and then also Stan Lee, he became a superstar himself. I mean, look how many movies he was in of his own creations. Out of respect and homage, the companies were like, yeah, you got a cameo in your own stuff. I think the only ones he didn't cameo in were the Punisher ones with Thomas Jane and Ray Stevenson, and he didn't come in that last Fantastic Four where Michael B. Jordan was Human Torch, but he was just about in everything else. Like, and I think he wasn't in the Blades either. I don't think he was in any of the Blades. What I do know that he didn't really do any R-rated ones. But he did do Deadpool, though. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy saying that, but he's been in every other Marvel created. I mean, he's been in every Marvel movie. Every Marvel movie. That's a trip, man. He's his own star, which is trippy because it's like, you know, it's cool, dude. Like, I don't get the fact that, like, I get the fact that, like, you create your own corporation, you do what you do, love, even if people are stacked against you. And this guy did it all. I mean, he spent 95 years. I mean, most of that time when he was creating Marvel, like off jump, and creating characters, and his characters are gonna live on, even over us. Think about that, guys. His characters are gonna live forever. All these characters that he's created, they're gonna live forever. Even him passing yesterday, his legacy will still live on. And nobody can take that away from him. No one. And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, you know, and I look at it and what I'm trying to do with my life and everything, and it's like, you want to leave something when you're gone. You want to leave something that, like, you know, I always say, I might not change the world, but I am definitely going to put a dent in this world like it was your car door or was a bumper. I'm going to do that. And, you know, just with those shining examples, anything's possible as long as you put your mind to it and believe in the things and your convictions that you're going to do. And don't let nobody take that power away from you. That's the beautiful part about just, you know, it's sad that he's gone, but the lessons that Stan Lee has went through his ups and downs, went through ins and outs of being broke, being wealthy, all of that stuff, man. Like, it's a wonderful scenario, and that he was able to shine a light on everybody who picked up a comic book, became a character that they could soar off building to building, fly, or wear a suit of armor and pop out claws like pop out adamantium claws like for Halloween or anything. I mean, it's just awesome to me, man. Like, all these characters, like all these people who, under his umbrella, that he was responsible for. I mean, he wasn't just responsible for everything all by himself, but like between him and Jack Kirby, those guys created characters who were monumental, probably just as monumental as folks like Batman and Superman. Maybe even more popular, who knows? But deep down, it's just, I don't know, I mean, it's just cool. It's kind of hard to talk about stuff like this because it's like, it saddens me, and like, he's like, comic books is one of the main reasons that kept my ass out of trouble and as a child, or as in like going through college, like high school and stuff like that. I mean, you know, and mainly I was reading mostly Marvel comic books, man. Like, my favorite characters are like Iron Man, Hulk, and Colossus, and Black Panther. Those are like one of my top characters, like, especially like the street heroes, like Daredevil, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Moon Knight. You know, these cats are just awesome as hell. Like, even like the super teams. Like, I was always the fan of the Fantastic Four because they were just only 4 people, so they didn't have to like really branch off. Like, the X-Men was cool, but like the X-Men, you could create your own. Like, the X-Men has so many characters. They have more mutants than they do. They have just as many mutants in the X-Men universe, just as much as in the solo characters or in Avengers in the Marvel universe. Like, the X-Men could be their own universe. But as a whole, as a group, I mean, and look at all the content that Marvel's a part of now. They had their own video games. They teamed up with Capcom, another giant corporation, and created one of the best fighting games in history, Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, their first one they ever did a crossover, X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I mean, they did a lot of things. I mean, and probably one of the top favorite fighting games I've ever played, too. Like, you know, you had, like, Marvel superheroes and X-Men Children of the Atom. All this stuff was awesome. It was hardcore. It was dope. Especially growing up playing these and reading these and watching them. I mean, Blade started it all Blade was the catalyst that started Marvel's movie traction to move forward. If it wasn't for Blade, I mean, then we wouldn't have X-Men. We wouldn't have Spider-Man. We wouldn't have Spider-Man. We wouldn't have Spider-Man. Tell you the truth, we wouldn't have any of all that if they didn't give it a chance. I mean, it's a trip, man. It's dope. I mean, yeah, we lost another one, dude. We lost a great. We lost Stan the Man Lee, dude. It's sad. And I'm just speaking in my mind about how dope he was, how his upbringing, like, my dad would take me to the comic book store, would take me and my brother and my sister to Golden Apple. You know, just buying comic books. And just mainly, like, I was reading Marvel stuff, man. Like, I still got mainly most of my comic books all storaged up, and You know, I can always go back on them and just reminisce on them, you know? So, I gotta give props to Stan Lee for that, because, like I said, if it wasn't for comic books, if it wasn't for Marvel, shit, man, I probably wouldn't be the guy I am now. That's for damn sure. So, either way, man, rest in peace to Stan the Man Lee. Like I said, man, this is an In My Mind segment on Late for the Party. I am your host, Melodious, and as always, y'all, you know what? I always usually say my speak of the piece of change, and I told myself, but, you know, I'm going to change it because this is going to be a new saying, so I'm going to start it over. So, this is Melodious from Late for the Party signing off, and as always, it's okay to be late for the party, just don't be late for the fun. You guys take care.